Right, so let's talk. Let's talk about Jon Jones. Let's talk about the light heavyweight division. 6 seconds in, and I fucked it up. But we'll persevere. We'll carry on. So look, news broke yesterday evening that Dominic Reyes and Jan Blachowicz had verbally agreed to fight each other on the undercard of Stylebender against Borgino, Israel Adesanya against Paulo Costa. At that point, I posted on my Instagram, follow me, at the Battle Camp, and I said, is this for an interim title? Is this for a vacant title? Who knows? And the picture got a little bit clearer a couple of hours after I posted that, because Jon Jones got to tweeting, and I'm not going to go through every single one of his tweets. I'm just going to go through the more pertinent ones. So the first thing that he tweeted, fucking hell, he's been active today as well. I had his Twitter page open, thinking that I'd just be able to easily scroll to his tweets, but he's been on it today as well. So here we go. Just got off the phone with the UFC today. I confirmed that I'm vacating the Light Heavyweight Championship. It's officially up for grabs. It's been an amazing journey. Sincere thank you to all my competition, UFC, and most importantly, you fans. So look, let's just talk about this now. So he's vacated the title, clearly, which means that Jan Blachowicz and Dominic Reyes will be fighting each other for the light heavyweight title. I believe it's going to be UFC 253 late September. Firstly, look, this is the first time that someone other than Jon Jones or Daniel Cormier is going to be the light heavyweight champion for God knows how long. I think it's probably been like 4, 5, 6 years, something like that. I can't remember when somebody else held that title. So that's quite exciting. The one thing that I will say is I really wanted to see Dominic Reyes rematch Jon Jones, because me, along with a load of other people, thought that Dominic Reyes won that fight. Now, obviously, Jon Jones isn't ducking Dominic Reyes, but at the same time, there's a ever so slight little cloud that hangs over that victory that he's got against Dominic Reyes, and I'd love to have seen them run that back and have a clear winner of that fight. So that's the first thing. But look, it wasn't to be. It's not going to happen. He's got the victory in the record books, and Dominic Reyes, no skin off his nose, because he's now fighting for what it looks like he's going to be fighting for the light heavyweight title. the next tweet. Just got off the phone with the UFC today. I confirmed that I'm I'm reading the same one again. The next tweet. The last I spoke with the UFC about my salary, there was no negotiating. I'm going to come back to that word. There was no negotiating. If that ever changes, I'd love to come back and compete again as a heavyweight. Until then, I'll be enjoying the UFC as a fan and do my best to take care of my family and my community. So the reason why I wanted to talk about that word salary, I've seen other people react to this news. One thing that I haven't seen is people talk about the use of this word. Now, it might just be me being kind of reading into things too much, but a couple of months back, Jon Jones was going through this public spat with the UFC, talking about being an independent contractor, similar to how Jorge Masvidal was talking about the fact that he's not an independent contractor, and if he was, they should let him go and see what he's worth, and blah blah blah, this, that, and the other. So I thought it was quite funny that he used the word salary, because if you got a salary, you're not an independent contractor, you're a permanent member of staff. You're a part of the staff at this organization. So I don't know whether it's just me being over the top, but I just wanted to point out the fact that he used that word salary. So and if you put that in the context of the rest of the tweet, where he's talking about there won't be any negotiation, there was no negotiating, etc., etc. It's got that same kind of vibe to it. Do you know what I mean? The same vibe as the tweets that he was posting a couple of months back. And just going back to those tweets a couple of months back, I'm pretty sure he kind of retired or vacated the title at that point. So, like, for all intents and purposes, the belt was already vacant, but obviously not, because it was just a negotiation tactic. We move on. So actually, at this point, I was lying in bed, semi-naked, and I was about to jump out and put some clothes on and record a video and say, "Oh, breaking news! Jon Jones vacates, and he's having a dig at the UFC." Blah blah blah. Like, I was gonna go like that. And I'm glad I didn't, because I would have posted that video, and that video would have been out of date, because Jon Jones, a couple of hours later, said this. Just had a really positive conversation with the UFC. Sounds like there will be negotiations for my next fight at heavyweight. All good news. The weight gaining process begins. Now, for me, this all points to Jon Jones fighting the winner of Stipe Miocic and Francis Ngannou, because if Jon Jones is going to go through this process of gaining weight and, you know, building muscle and building his frame, etc., to compete with the guys in the heavyweight division, that's not something that he's going to be able to pull off overnight. So if it takes him a couple of months, let's just say he'll be ready to fight at the start of next year. And let's not forget, he's still got to do these negotiations. He's still got to agree terms for him to fight as a heavyweight. But at the same time, currently the heavyweight picture for me is as clear as day, because Stipe Miocic won against Daniel Cormier, just gone on Sunday, and it was a clear, concise victory. And for me, there is a completely obvious number one contender in the form of Francis Ngannou. So once these two guys fight, it just looks like Jon Jones is going to be next in line. Now, people like Curtis Blades won't be happy about it, but, you know, look, Curtis Blades, it hasn't been so long since he lost to Francis Ngannou. Do you know what I mean? And that was kind of one of the wins that Ngannou got on his comeback trail after losing to Stipe and then Derek Lewis. So I think there's a clear distinction between Ngannou and the rest of the pack in the heavyweight division. And if you put Jon Jones in the mix, I think just by the weight of what he's done as a light heavyweight and the fact that he's universally known as probably the greatest mixed martial artist of all time, or currently the pound for pound number one fighter, obviously there's arguments to be had and all of that kind of stuff, but he's in everybody's top three list, right? He slots nicely between the pack, the current pack at heavyweight, and Francis Ngannou, who I believe is definitely deserving of a title shot. Now, whether he wants to come in and have, I wouldn't want to call it a warm-up fight, but a fight at heavyweight to kind of find his feet in that division, whether he wants to jump straight in to a title shot, that's a different story. If you go back to what he was tweeting on Sunday evening, Saturday evening, Sunday morning for me, as the Stipe Miocic Cormier fight was unfolding, I don't know whether he was tweeting during the fight or straight after the fight. He was basically saying, this guy's too slow, I can beat Stipe Miocic and blah blah blah. So for me, it looks like he wants to jump straight in for a title shot. I believe he's earned it just by, like I said, by way of what he's done as a light heavyweight. The only thing that I will say is I just don't know whether his strategy of kind of negotiating in public, his strategy of trying to, I wouldn't say kind of drag the UFC's name through the dirt, but I would say he's open to being anti-UFC on Twitter, and he's open to sharing his side of what he feels. He's open to sharing his side of his own mistreatment in his eyes by the UFC on Twitter for the fans to see. Now, this is a guy that has also not acted in a prim and proper way throughout his career. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's got a long list of misdemeanors under his belt, and there's a load of occasions where he's done things that he shouldn't have or shouldn't be doing. It's not so long ago that he was doing, shooting guns and sat behind a wheel drunk and not being able to complete a sobriety test. Now, I know that is separate to him as a fighter and his fighting career, but when you're kind of sitting here saying, look, this is what I deserve, this is what I bring to the table, yeah, as a fighter you do, but what about all the headache and all of the side stuff that you bring to the table as an organization that the UFC have had to deal with? It's not been just one occasion where he's had to kind of relinquish his title for kind of misdemeanors outside the cage, for failed drug testers, etc, etc, etc. I suppose all I'm saying is, when you're not squeaky clean yourself, I don't know whether he's the right person to be going public on Twitter saying the UFC have done this, or they're not doing that, they're not paying us enough, blah blah blah, etc etc etc, when they've got a stick to beat you over the head with when it comes to your own actions. Do you know what I mean? So look, I wouldn't be surprised if these guys get into a back and forth and a tussle further down the line, where he's saying, I think I deserve X amount as a heavyweight fighter, and the UFC is saying, no way, you don't deserve that. Like, I kind of feel like he needs the UFC more than the UFC need him. Like, he's in no man's land at the minute. He's given up his belt as a light heavyweight. He's saying that he's going to move up to heavyweight, but at the same time, the heavyweight division is just moving along swimmingly. Obviously, the UFC would gain from Jon Jones fighting Stipe or Francis, whoever wins that fight. I think that that pay-per-view would do more numbers than any other fight in the heavyweight division with the current roster. But at the same time, like, the UFC have other weight divisions, other weight categories, other fighters, other fights they can make that could probably, you know, manage a similar sort of number as what a Stipe against Jon Jones or a Ngannou against Jon Jones would do. So, but Jon Jones is like, this is his only potential to make money as a combat sports athlete because of the contract that he's got with the UFC. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, the leverage is with the UFC. So when the leverage is with the UFC, is it a good strategy to then go public with your discrepancies and talk about how you feel you've been mistreated? I don't know, man. I'm not saying that Jon Jones doesn't deserve to be paid more. I believe every single fighter on the roster deserves to be paid more, but I just don't know whether his the way he's going about it is the right way, or the correct way, or the best way for him as an individual. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a fucking politician. I'm not a spin doctor. I'm just giving you my perspective. But with all that being said, I'm looking forward to seeing Jon Jones as a heavyweight. Like, I said this previously. I said this in my UFC 252 video. I said I felt it was a little bit contrived the way he was tweeting after the Cormier Miocic fight, because I felt like rather than him saying, you know what, I'm going to step up, I'm going to challenge myself, it was almost like, you know what, now I see a window of opportunity where I feel like I can beat all of these guys. I can see that they're slower than me. I can see this, I can see that. And there's nothing wrong with being what's the right word, calculated when you make your moves, especially in a sport as dangerous as this. But me as a fan, I like to see it when people are stepping up, they're stepping up to show you that I'm the best, not to show you that, you know what, now's the time because this is where I see the weaknesses, so I'm going to try and exploit that. Does that make sense? So yeah, I've kind of rambled on a bit there, so I'm going to leave it there. But these are my thoughts about Jon Jones moving up the light heavyweight division currently. I'll make a video about the Dominic Reyes-Jan Blachowicz fight before, kind of a week before it goes down, so kind of, you know, in a month's time or whatever. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Don't be scared to hit the like button. Share this with a friend if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Also subscribe to my podcast. If you go down in the description of this video, you'll see a load of links to different podcast platforms. Choose the one that you use. Subscribe to the podcast, because all of these videos that I put on YouTube, the audio file goes on the podcast thing like way quicker, because it just takes less time to post. So yeah, I'll catch you guys next time. Ciao for now.